Think about the last time someone disrespected you. Maybe it was a coworker who took credit for your idea in front of the entire team. Maybe it was a relative who made a comment at dinner that was wrapped in a smile but landed like a slap. Maybe it was someone who spoke to you in a tone that made you feel small, and you just sat there, nodding, saying nothing. And then you drove home, and you replayed it over and over. You thought of 10 perfect things you could have said. You rehearsed entire conversations in your head, but it was too late. The moment had passed. And the worst part wasn't even what they said. The worst part was how you felt about yourself afterward. Like you had failed yourself at the one moment it really mattered. If that experience sounds familiar, I want you to know something. You are not weak. You are not a pushover. You are human. And you were not given a blueprint for how to handle disrespect with grace and power at the same time. Most of us were taught either to fight back or to stay quiet, and neither of those serves us. Today, I want to give you something different. 6 specific psychologically grounded responses that do not require you to lose your temper, beg for respect, or walk away feeling defeated. Responses that make people genuinely pause. Responses that, more often than not, make the person who disrespected you feel something they did not expect to feel: regret. The first response is one that almost no one thinks to use, and yet it is the most psychologically powerful tool in this entire conversation. It is called the deliberate pause. When someone says something disrespectful to you, something dismissive, something cutting, something that was designed to shrink you, do not respond immediately. Do not fill the silence. Just look at them, calmly, steadily, and let the silence grow. This sounds almost too simple to work, but here is what is happening beneath the surface. When someone disrespects you, they are running a kind of social experiment. They are testing whether you will absorb it, deflect it, or crumble under it. They expect a reaction: embarrassment, anger, a forced laugh, a stumbled apology. What they are not prepared for is stillness. When you pause, when you look at them without flinching and say nothing for 2 or 3 full seconds, you disrupt the entire script they had in their head. That silence puts the weight of what they just said directly on their shoulders. They start to hear their own words hanging in the air. And people who say unkind things rarely like hearing them echo back. Research in social psychology tells us that silence, when used intentionally, signals high status and emotional control. Leaders do this naturally. Therapists do it deliberately. You can do it too. And the next time someone says something that stings, before you respond with anything, a word, a defense, an explanation, just breathe, pause, let them sit in what they said, then speak. The quality of what comes out of your mouth after a deliberate pause is almost always better than what comes out in the heat of the moment. And you will carry yourself differently. You will feel it. The second response is something I call the honest mirror. Most disrespectful behavior works because it is never directly addressed. The passive-aggressive remark, the subtle put-down, the comment that sounds like a compliment but isn't. These things survive because we instinctively want to avoid the discomfort of confronting them. So we ignore them. We rationalize them. We tell ourselves maybe we misheard. And the person who said it watches this happen and files the information away. This person will not call me out. This person is safe to disrespect. The honest mirror breaks that pattern. It is simply naming what just happened, calmly and clearly. Not with accusation, not with raised voices, just with honesty. Something like, "That felt like a dig. Was it meant to be?" Or, "I'm not sure how to take that. Can you tell me what you meant?" What this does psychologically is extraordinary. It forces the other person to become conscious of behavior that was designed to be deniable. They can no longer hide behind plausible deniability. They have to either own what they said or retreat. And either way, you win. Because you have demonstrated that you are someone who notices, someone who pays attention, and someone who will not let things slide past without acknowledgement. The people who use this response consistently report something interesting. After the first or second time they use it with someone, that person almost never repeats the behavior. Not because they were shamed into stopping, but because they realize this person sees me, and that awareness alone is enough to change how they behave. The third response requires a shift in how you think about respect itself. We spend so much energy trying to earn respect from people who were never going to give it to us, bending ourselves, proving ourselves, making ourselves smaller or louder, depending on what we think will work. And in doing so, we teach people exactly how to treat us. The third response is this: stop auditioning and start deciding. There is a quiet revolution that happens in a person's life when they stop seeking approval and start setting the terms. It does not announce itself. There is no dramatic speech. It is simply a shift in energy, the way you enter a room, the way you speak, the way you respond when challenged. When someone disrespects you, and instead of explaining yourself or defending your worth, you simply redirect the conversation or disengage entirely, you are communicating something that no argument ever could. You are communicating that their opinion of you is genuinely not the deciding vote. Psychologists call this internal locus of control, the belief that your value comes from within, not from external validation. People who have developed this do not chase respect, they embody it. And something strange happens with people like this. Others begin to sense it. They feel it before they can name it. And they begin to treat these people accordingly. Not because those people demanded it, but because those people simply stopped accepting anything less. The fourth response is one that is going to feel counterintuitive, especially if you grew up being told that kindness means absorbing whatever people throw at you. The fourth response is strategic disengagement, not the hot, dramatic kind where you storm out of a room. The cold, deliberate kind where you simply stop giving someone your most valuable resource, your time and attention. Here is the psychological truth that most people never consider. Attention is currency. When you engage with someone, even negatively, even to argue back, you are paying them with that currency. You are telling them through your behavior that they are worth your energy. Strategic disengagement does the opposite. It withdraws the currency entirely. You become less available, less warm, less likely to include them in your conversations and your circles. And you do this without explaining why, without making a scene, without sending a message. You just quietly begin to move in a different direction. Behavioral psychology has a term for this: extinction. When a behavior stops being rewarded, when it stops producing the reaction it was designed to produce, it eventually dies out. What you are doing when you disengage is removing the reward. And for most people, the realization that they have lost access to you, that you are no longer available in the same way, lands harder than any argument you could have made. They feel it, and they cannot quite explain why. That discomfort is the beginning of reckoning. The fifth response is one of the most sophisticated things a person can do in the face of disrespect, and it is the one that most people are the least prepared for. It is responding with unexpected warmth, not the fake, gritted teeth kind, but a genuine, composed, almost bewildering warmth that makes the other person feel as though their attempt at cruelty has completely missed its target. Think about what happens when someone throws a punch and the other person just smiles and steps aside. There is a moment of total confusion. The attacker expected resistance, expected impact. What they got was air, and that moment of confusion shifts the power entirely. When you respond to disrespect with genuine calm and even warmth, when you say, "I appreciate you sharing that," to someone who expected you to crumble, or when you meet their dismissal with a composed smile and a change of subject, you are doing something psychologically devastating to their intended dynamic. You are refusing to be a victim. You are refusing the role they assigned you. This is not the same as being a doormat. The difference is in what you are feeling inside while you do it. A doormat absorbs the blow and walks away feeling crushed. This response absorbs nothing, because you have already decided, privately and completely, that this person's words do not define you. The warmth you offer is not submission. It is evidence of your security. And security, when it is real, makes the people around it feel uncertain about their own behavior in a way they cannot quite articulate. The sixth and final response is the one that takes the longest to see, but it is also the one that creates the most lasting, irreversible shift, not just in how others see you, but in how you see yourself. The sixth response is the commitment to become undeniable. Every person who has ever been dismissed, overlooked, or made to feel like they did not belong in a room has a choice at that moment. They can let the disrespect define the ceiling of their confidence, or they can let it become the floor, the starting point, the thing that proves to them, once and for all, what they are actually capable of when they stop waiting for permission and start building. There is a particular quality that belongs to people who were once underestimated and chose to respond not with bitterness, but with work. They develop a clarity that comfortable people never access. They know what it feels like to be counted out, and they use that knowledge as a compass. Every day, quietly, they are building something: a skill, a reputation, a version of themselves that needs no defense. And one day, not in a dramatic moment, not with a speech or a confrontation, the world simply begins to see them differently, and the people who once looked past them have to reckon with what they missed. This is the most patient response, but it is also the most permanent one, because when your life becomes the evidence, no one can argue with it. You do not need to say, "I told you so." The facts say it for you, And the regret that lives in the person who once underestimated you is the kind that does not go away, because they will spend the rest of their lives wondering what would have happened if they had simply chosen to treat you with the respect you always deserved. Here is what I want you to carry with you when you leave this video. Disrespect is not a verdict, it is a test. And it is not a test of whether you are worth respecting. That has already been settled, and the answer is yes. It is a test of whether you know that, of whether you have done enough work on yourself to respond from a place of groundedness rather than fear. The 6 responses we talked about today, the deliberate pause, the honest mirror, deciding instead of auditioning, strategic disengagement, unexpected warmth, and the commitment to become undeniable, none of them require you to be loud. None of them require you to win an argument. They only require you to know, in the quiet center of who you are, that you are worth taking seriously. And when you know that, really know it, not just as a thought, but as a felt truth, other people begin to know it too. Not because you told them, but because the way you move, the way you speak, the way you respond when the pressure is on, tells them everything they need to know. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.